welcome back to Religion, Economics, and Politics. Once again, I'm your host, Morris Jackson, and this is part two of a conversation that we started a couple weeks back, talking about basically our financial resolutions for 2022. And I had to bring these two brothers back. They dropped so much knowledge on us that we had to come back and actually dissect this and break it down and do a deep dive, if you will. So I've got brother Stan Ferguson, a great brother, Akili Shabazz. So glad to have you all back. Won't you introduce yourselves again and just kind of give us your background for those who couldn't join us on the last show?
Yes,
and Stan, Akili, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Akili Shabazz. I've been in the advocacy and actually financial services for about 20 years now, doing actually many different things. My original passion was education and advocating for our youth who get caught in situations and don't understand why. So I took a real passion to try to understand and help them understand that sometimes physically reacting is not the right way to go about things. It's really a mental plan that they know exactly what they're doing. And that also led me into working with several different organizations where I was doing finances within these organizations. And as of recently, actually, Brother Stan and I have joined forces in the financial industry, where we have came up with the hidden tools of economic war as a way to trying to entice and educate at the same time, because there's so many things out there that are at our fingertips, but we don't feel them at our fingertips. So we just want to make sure that we realize what's touching our fingertips and how that can be actually beneficial for us. And it's not just for other people, or it's not just for a certain income status.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you. And like I said, glad to have you back. Brother Stan?
Hey, I'm Brother Mark. I'm definitely happy to be back here. And I'm Brother Stan. And I've been in the industry for quite a while, not as long as Brother Keeley. I actually work in insurance right now. So I run an insurance department, two departments actually. So I do have some experience in it. And I really enjoy helping people in this industry because it's needed. Because there are tools out there that folks can use to better their lives, and we have that opportunity to do it. So I love working with young people. Whenever I get a chance to talk to young people who come in and they make that right step, and if I can sit down and talk to them, I definitely pass it on to them. And many of them actually thank me for it because they don't have that information, and then the parents. I'm in a position where there are parents who thank me for helping their children understand this very important, part of their lives, aspect of their life as far as the financial part of it. So I get a chance to do all that stuff and work with Brother Keeley, who's a great brother, great friend. Right. We worked together for a number of years. And of course, you, Brother Morris Jackson, to kind of put all this together so we can present this great information to your audience and other audiences. Thank you for having us.
Like I said, thank you all for taking the time to come out. And like I said, we had I think a great conversation, and I look at it as an opening conversation. And I knew immediately upon starting that conversation a couple weeks back that this was going to turn into a series. So I was hoping you all were like-minded and would agree to come back. And so, and you have, and I really appreciate it. REP or REP or Religion, Economics, and Politics, one of the things that we seek to do is to bring knowledge to people. So, of course, I touched on it last week. The Bible says, our people perish for a lack of knowledge. It's not that the knowledge isn't out there, but it's just that we lack that knowledge, or it has not been, we haven't been enlightened. And that's one of the things we seek to do now. Although, we try to do that from a biblical standpoint, but I do believe that a lot of the tools and rules for investment and how money works and flows, those things are universal. The Bible says, "Give and it shall be given unto you." Doesn't necessarily say you have to be of a particular religious persuasion. Those are universal rules. We know that the sun, rises and sets on the wicked as just as well as it does the just. So I don't want anybody to get mad at me and send me some hate emails and things like that. But hey, I didn't say it, God did. But the one thing I do want to do now, in the meantime, like I said, if our people end up getting blessed by it, and then someone else who doesn't necessarily believe the way we do, they get blessed as well, well, then okay, well, so be it. But the primary purpose for this ministry is to enlighten people, to bring that knowledge, that information to them that is readily available. But for whatever reason, there's been an impediment, placed between us that's keeping us from getting that particular knowledge. So last week, I kind of want to go back and talk about some things and just kind of recap. So last week we talked about, what can we do with the money we have right now, or some simple things that we could do going into 2022 to set ourselves up financially and build a legacy, or even start a legacy if we haven't already began to do so for a family. And you all brought up, and I'll just kind of go down because I was taking my notes, man. I'm serious, and I got my notepad out, so I'm learning from you guys as we speak. So I'm back to feed again. So we talked about having a budget, having life insurance, and I think most important of all is to make sure we have a will in place. So, Brother Keely, so if you want to touch on those again, and Stan, you jump in wherever you feel like you want to interject or need to interject here, or you go up and defer to one another, just kind of recap that again. And then what I like to do is take a look or deep dive into something else that we touched on last week. And I think it's worth looking into, because this is a very powerful tool, and you're starting to hear some rumbling about this, and it's starting to travel and hit social media. But I want to make sure that we're getting the right information. But if you could first, let's touch on the budget, life insurance, and the will aspect.
Okay, I think first of all, the budget, we have to know what's coming in and what's going out. That's key. And we have to know what needs to be going out, because sometimes we may have expenses that are unnecessary. So the first and the purpose of the budget is for you to determine your discretionary income, so you know what you can afford when you go into spending your money elsewhere. We'll just put it that way. Right. So you have to be actually clear on that. Then you have to be disciplined and firm to stick to that. We have a lot of situations where individuals may get an increase in income, but their discretionary income may even go down, because we get excited when we have extra money and we want to do something with it. So we have to fight that urge and be a little more disciplined and create a long-term vision, so that we can be thinking, how can the money I make in 2022 help my children, grandchildren in 2042, 52, 62? And we have to find the tools to put in place to, do that. What comes to mind when I think of will, ideally, when we think of will, it's like, okay, so if I die, this is the instructions for what I want to do with my assets. And we have to understand that assets does not necessarily mean, actually boat, cars, and homes. Assets would be anything in which you own, in which you control. It could be actually bank accounts, it could be 401ks, it could be actually many different things. But the one thing that I think we kind of skip over when we actually think about a will is we have to create an inventory. We have to know what we have as far as assets, and we have to become organized in such a way so that if you pass tomorrow, unexpectedly. The location of your will is identified, where your assets are identified. So it's an organizational structure based upon the inventory of your assets. And it has to be done in a way so that if you're not here to give any instructions, you have something on autopilot that will go to your wife or your children, so they know what your instructions are, so that your desires can then be executed. And actually, lastly, on insurance, there are so many situations we may see in the news when people are dying and they may not have the proper protection. And actually, protection means a few things. The first thing is if you pass and you don't have the actually proper protection, your loved ones are going to want to see a certain type of service for you. So if you don't outline that yourself, they're going to go for what they believe you want to have, or a certain level of respect that they want to give you in your homegoing. So, and if they don't have that, or if you did not have that allocated in insurance, they will go into debt to finance whatever that plan is, whether it's just a service, whether it's cremation, whether it's a viewing and a burial. So you can create actually debt for your loved ones by not having a plan for when you actually leave. That's number one. And that's just on the basics of he's passed away, we're going to put him to rest, and it's over with. Then you can take that a step further to the point where you can replace your income, so that if you pass, your wife or your spouse can be covered with your income. Ideally, it should be 10 times, what you make. Depending on what you make and your discretionary income, that might not be doable. But it is key to give them something so that they can maintain that same course of living for 3, 4, 5, 6 months after you go, without them worrying about losing the house or having things repossessed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really about implementing a plan so that your loved ones have a chance to grieve and not stress about these phone calls, these letters, these people coming to my door, and all this other stuff that actually may happen. So I'll kind of leave it there. If I may say actually one more thing, just to speak to,
sure.
This is kind of off subject, but it's on subject. When we say hidden tools, that does not mean that it's something that is not in your sight. It just means it's something that you don't recognize for its design purpose. Example being, you may have a flat tire. You may have your toolbox where you have all your sockets, all your wrenches, and you may think, okay, 13/16, half-inch drive, this will take my tire off. And it will, but it'll be a lot more work than the lug wrench that was designed for that purpose. So the lug wrench is the tool because it's longer, it gives you different leverage, and it doesn't kill your back. So that tool was designed for taking off flat tires. There are many tools you can use, but that tool was actually designed for that. So what our desire is to help you to understand that you can use other things. You can't just have a savings account and tell your spouse how to get the money and to access that towards your stuff. Or you can do an insurance account, a burial account, or a will to have it outlined so that she's not worried about, okay, did he say it's in this account and the PIN is 3415 or is it 3514? So you remove all that anxiety that your family could actually have by you just taking the foresight to outline it ahead of time with a clear mind and the vision that I don't want them to stress when I'm gone. And it could be kind of, it could be kind of self-serving, like I just want them to miss me, not miss what I was doing, All right.
You were speaking on that, and it reminds me of something that God put on my heart as I was thinking about the show today. Is that think of yourself as a corporation or a business, and fellas, when you get married, whether you realize it or not, you are a co-operation or a corporation And so your will is your succession plan. All businesses have a contingency plan or a succession plan should something happen to the CEO or one of their officers of the company. They have insurance to cover them in case there are, maybe a natural disaster. It could be a man-made disaster. They have insurance for these things. They're not reaching into the company's funds to pay for or cover some of these natural disasters. Now, will there be some things that they have to expense? Maybe, but I can almost guarantee you, and working in corporate world, I can tell you right now that they have insurance for just about everything you can think of.
Yes, sir.
They're covered for those things, and there's things that they also make sure that they put in place so that they can qualify for certain insurances or coverages, or that they can obtain that insurance at the lowest premium possible to get the maximum amount of coverage. So just like a business, I mean, we're a business. There's just, if you think about it, there is certain benefits available to sole proprietorships, sole proprietary businesses, or single owner or sole owner businesses versus, let's just say, a corporation. So same for you. If you're single, your benefits are not going to be as great on the tax side as it would be for a married couple or that co-operation. So having insurance in place is no different than us having insurance versus a business having insurance. So we put insurance on our cars, we put insurance on everything else but ourselves. Some of us don't even put insurance on our homes when we should, or we don't have enough insurance. We're underinsured. So, flood insurance would be one I could think of right away. So we got everything else covered, but we don't go get that extra $500 or $600 a year policy that we could have paid for pretty easily if we maybe just canceled the Hulu a subscription. Right. So we have the money, we have the funds. And so just going back and talking about that budget, these are some of the things when you sit down as a business or a cooperation, you have a business meeting, and you all stop me if I'm wrong, but you have a business meeting and you talk about operations expenses. Are we spending money prudently? Are there some things that we could cut and maybe redirect those funds and leverage them to a point to where they're actually more beneficial to the cooperation, the business, the family? So that's just some of the things I was thinking about, and God kind of put on my heart. Like I said, as I was thinking about this today, that we are much like a cooperation or a business, and we really need to sit down and have those board meetings with our family members, talk about our succession planning, in our will. The life insurance is a part of that. We need to talk about our contingency planning in the way of our budgets, because we know things are going to happen. If something would happen, what are we going to live off of if I lose my job? There's insurance for that as well. So, but anyway, I digress. I just I was thinking about that, and so, Brother Stan, you look like you were getting ready to say something there.
Yeah, I want to just chime in on the budget, will, and the insurance, and just want to add a little bit to it. So, as 2022, the number one thing I would say for family is to get started. Get started. If you get started on nothing, get started in these three areas. Get started on a budget. And for example, when you sit down as a family, you can sit down and strategize. For example, most people just run out and get a bank account. Well, guess what? Maybe a bank account is not the right account for you. Maybe you should look at a credit union, because a bank account, they got hella fees, right? And a credit union is local, community owned, don't have as many fees, but you can still manage your money. But you can sit down as a family and look at and see if that works for you. So is it more feasible to have a bank account as a family, or is it more feasible to have a credit union account in a credit union? Because the credit union is, in my experience, my wife and I have been with a credit union for over 20, probably 25 years. For example, when we were young and didn't have any money, we went to our credit union. Our credit union gave us a loan $500 to help us get through difficult times. A bank won't do that. So you need to look at your family's dynamics, look at your family situation, and see if a bank works for you for money management, or credit union works for you as far as money management. Now, as far as a will goes, I would say the simple thing is, I mean, it's not exciting. It's not one of those topics that pull you in. Just go start the conversation, have the conversation, and it might open up into something that you never even thought of, and might kind of spark something to say, hey, I need to get on this right now, because tomorrow is not promised to anybody. The next minute is not promised to you, me, or anybody. So at least go ahead and get started. And insurance is one of those hidden tools, because most people I know coming up, the community I come from, I didn't hear the word insurance, but guess what? It exists. And then you have people like me and sit in my position, folks come in and they just want to have an initial conversation, and they are so surprised at how insurance can be used as a tool to fix a lot of their situations.
Yes.
As far as homeowners insurance, as far as providing for their children, as far as future planning, because we got the misconception, right, that insurance, I'm not going to, be here to spend it, so I don't need it, right? Selfishness. But guess what? There are many other options roads you can take with insurance, where you can use it now while you're alive to put your family in a better financial position.
Yes.
So my message for your audience, Brother Morris, is get started in 2022. Get started now. Just have the conversation, or listen to this great podcast, or talk to friends, or read a magazine if you want to talk to anybody, or go online and just start educating yourself, because each one of these areas will impact your life, and you will run across it in your life. Now, you'll be in two positions. You'll either be prepared or not. So I would say go ahead and get started in 22, so at least to get prepared.
And that's a great point. And so I want to stay right with you, Brother Keeley. So you touched on something last week, and this is what I want to take more of a deep dive into. And I'm sorry, Brother Stan, and then Brother Keeley, you can jump in there as well. So we talked about insurance being a tool for banking, or a tool that we could use to actually set up our own personal banking, or infinite banking, as some are calling it. So I want to really take a deep dive into that. What type of insurance are we talking about? How does that work? Do I set up an insurance policy today, and tomorrow, I can access those funds? Is there a waiting period? Who can I talk to set up an insurance policy like this? And why would I want to even do something like this? So just kind of, walk us through the steps of, what is it? Why is it beneficial to me? And just kind of the ins and outs of personal banking when it comes to insurance.
Mm-hmm. So I'll cover just maybe one or two of the areas, and Brother Keeley can cover the other areas. It gives you leverage. It gives you flexibility. It protects your family. And like we mentioned a week or two ago, that it can cover, you can structure it when you sit down with the right person and they take a look at your budget, because a budget, you got to do a budget. It incorporates the will, but you can structure it in a way that benefits your family. You can structure it in a way that lasts your family for generations. And as far as the details of that, well, you as the individual, or you as a family member, you would know the detail, and that those details will be pulled out based on the conversation that you have with a financial professional. So, for example, if you want to, talking about, I hate to see a younger person, because we live in, a different time, and people are going back to school, and people having children maybe a little bit later and younger. Family dynamics are a little bit different. But if you want to, set up an insurance policy structure, set up, but structure one where you add individual pieces to it, like that college portion, like that savings portion. And then that savings portion can be used for other, family emergencies down the line, or family situations down the line. So you would set up one based on your family situation, family dynamics, based on what you want as a family. And that's where you come together as a group, or you and your wife, being a corporation. Say, honey, I want to have money, 20 years to, maybe buy, I don't know, for me, for example, I want to get into farming. So maybe buy some farmland, you can set up an insurance policy where you can borrow money from your insurance policy while you're alive. You don't have to die. You can borrow the money in a very low.
So wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that insurance isn't just all about I have to kick the bucket first?
No,
and
sir.
then
No, sir.
Okay. So there's
No, sir.
actually insurance out there that will benefit me while I'm alive. It will benefit me and my family right now.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It will benefit you. And structure it properly. When I say structure, let me define that a little bit. I'm talking about make sure you handle it where the government don't come looking in your window. Okay. So that's what I mean, structure it. Structuring mainly means that you keep the government out of your business. And it's legal. It's been on the books for many, many years. It's a tool that other people have used to benefit their families. This is a tool that we are bringing and introducing, and through your show, Brother Morris, this information here get out to folks, and hopefully they'll be able to use it. But those are some of the ideas as far as talking points, as far as structuring an insurance policy that you can use while you're alive today to do many, many things. I'm going to give you one more example, which is it's a smaller thing, but it's very important to show people, to illustrate to people how you can use it. For example, did you know that there are people, I haven't heard about it in my community or our community, that take out the insurance policies when they buy a house. They take out a separate policy because they know in 15, 20, 30 years, they need to change the roof, right? So they have a structural policy, they go maybe cash in a policy or take money out of an IUL, and Brother Akita will get into that, where you take this money out, tax advantage, right? So you pay it back whenever you want to pay it back at a very low interest rate. And if you happen to pass away, the distribution, you would get fully dispersed to the family member minus what you owe, right? So they would take that loan out to go and replace a roof or something of that nature. So you can do all of this. Your family can have a very financial, stable life using the insurance policy. Of course, there's a small waiting period, but using the insurance policy to benefit you guys. I mean, it's there. It's a tool that we need to use. And I think your show is perfect to get this information out.
So you mean to tell me, and I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So not only can this money be used while I'm alive, but it's also protected from taxation?
Taxation, yes, sir. There are laws on the books for that. Remember, I said structure. That's where the financial professional like myself and Brother Akita come in.
Okay.
Make sure you structure it right. And when we structure it, you can't go back and say, I want to change, do A, B, C, and D. You need to leave it because you do not want to set anything off with the federal government because they're looking for ways to, come tax you, So that's where the financial professional comes in at that financial literacy, to educate you on what you can do, what you can't do, is what we have in place. Sit back, be patient, let it, let time go by. Now you can go and access your money in a structured and safe manner.
And I can set that up for anything, whether it be college, whether it be a new roof, whether it be, whatever I anticipate my family's needs are going to be. And we can structure it that way. And then it's there for us when we need it.
It's there for you when you need it. And it's not at the whims of the stock market too. It's not, most people probably think, well, you got to invest money in the market. No, we're not talking stuff like that. We talking indexing. Again, Brother Keela talked about that. We're talking indexing, which is a word that I didn't know until I got into this industry. But I'm sure it was done in other communities. I mean, it's the language that people who are financially savvy speak. Indexing. What is indexing? So yes, the money will be there, protected from the market, protected from the government. So you can take it and use it for college and changing the roof or buying a car or giving family members, children loans, things of that nature. So, but again,
so you're speaking my language now because I write a check every year. As a matter of fact, this is the time of the year that, I really, am not very fond of. I'll just put it that way. And so I know that the time is coming. I'm getting ready to get this pen out and I'm going to have to write. Now you don't even have to do it anymore. They'll just electronically debit that money, and
Yeah.
I tell you, restaurants sometimes will take 2 or 3 days to sometimes to take your money, but the government, I mean,
Oh no.
it's on same day. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
if your
like
bank's
your card,
open,
right?
yeah, if your bank's open, I mean, they got it. No problem. We can debit right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't delay. As my Caribbean brothers would say, straight away.
Straight away.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, straight away.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So wow, I mean that's powerful. Definitely, it's something I want to make sure that we highlight on this show, and we want to make sure that we get the information out there. And if there's resources that we need to put up on our website, which is coming very soon, by the way, we want to make sure that people are able to connect. I know that I'm going to have your masterclass for investment. That's on there for financial planning. That's going to be on the website. So thank you for that link, and anything else that you all want to share with us, we will definitely share that as well on our website. But that's powerful. Brother Keeley?
I'm going to start off with this. We might need to do a part 3.
Because okay, hey, we could do up to a part 6.
Because this is such a rich, topic. Because it's something that has been used for hundreds of years that we are not aware of, but we participate in businesses that have used these strategies to build their business. Let me see where I can start with. An IUL, that is Index Universal Life. Indexing is a form of mirroring the actual market, but your money is not in the market. So it follows the ups and downs of the market, but when the market drops, your money doesn't drop. It's kind of like it's kind of like walking up steps. As long as the market is going up, you're walking up steps. Actually, when the market actually drops, you stop and you wait on that step. So that's the first issue. You can start as many type of policies as you want, and your purpose will be actually defined when you are actually structuring it, and that would be the actual basis of how you fund it. So if you have a child that was born in 2015, in January 2015, you can say in February 2015, I want to start a policy for my child. I want to put this much money in it because this is going to be their actually college fund. Now you have that money growing year after year. However much you are putting in is growing year after year, then the index rate will be the rate that is actually growing And the actual beauty about this is if the market, when actually COVID hit and the market dropped, these accounts were not negatively affected. It maybe didn't have any growth in that period of time, but it didn't have any loss.
Right. So you're never losing your principal.
You are never losing your actual principal when the market drops. That is correct.
Wow.
And then so it can be structured on all type of means based upon you want. So you have that child, you start a policy for actually them. Let's say 10 months or 10 years earlier, you started a policy for yourself, for your own actually life insurance. Then as you become more aware of it, you're like, well, hold it. If I don't die and I never take loans out, I can let this accrue and I can start drawing income on this for my own retirement, And then unlike a 401k, you have rules when you can actually start accessing your money. And based upon when you access your money, you may have penalties on top of taxes. Okay.
Wow.
But with insurance, because you figure insurance is not coming out of your check. So when you get your check, it's tax money. So when you pay for your policy, it's already taxed. So when you take money out of your policy, you don't already pay it on the tax. So as it grows, it's growing actually tax free. So you're not putting in $10,000 and then it grows, and then when you take it out, you got to pay tax on that $10,000. No, because it was tax free when you put it in, so you can access the actual growth, tax free, or not.
Well, now these are the conversations that I want us to have at our kitchen tables.
Exactly.
This is the language that we should be using around the house, on a regular basis.
And I would change that slightly and say, these are the conversations we should have in our corporate meetings.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
As we're meeting, because just that simple language with your child that was born in 2015, that's tweaking actually their mind when they're thinking, I got to go home tonight because I'm having a board meeting with dad.
Having a board meeting, absolutely.
And we're going to talk about our financial plan, or we're going to talk about the vision of our corporation. And the friends will be like, "Listen, your corporation, you're only 10 years old. What are you talking about?" But it's the thought process.
Well, you know what? These are the type of conversations that the Rockefellers have. I mean, they look at their families as a business, as a corporation.
So it's just a shift in the language and the understanding of that, and then how you can accrue and utilize what you want. So if you have that 2015 policy for your child, and then for whatever reason, because of your corporate meetings at 16, that child says, you know what, I'm not going to a university, Dad. I'm going to this actually JC because I need to take some accounting classes because I'm going to start this business. And then now that college fund can be used as an emergency fund for their business, or it can just sit there and be used for whatever the case. It can just sit there and just be used to invest in another business.
Yeah.
So
it's the same. I can't reiterate enough. It's the same thing as I see it, in corporation. You want to be, they'll invest in your education. They have funds set aside for that because it benefits them as a corporation for you to be more educated and more knowledgeable about how to do the business and further or continue to make them more profitable. Brother Stan?
I just want to jump in real fast, and then I'll let Brother Keeley have it back. Do you know where they get their money for educational benefits, employee bonuses, hiring bonuses, all that good stuff? They get it from an insurance policy. They put all it's not. They don't go in their bank account and pull it out. They have that money set up, and they take out an insurance policy ahead of time to go ahead and get that candidate that they want.
Look at that.
Look
at that.
The uses are based upon your imagination. Now, you can't do anything illegal with it. You can't just use it to actually clean your money. Actually things of that nature.
Yeah, so don't do that, guys. If y'all
if you are a business and you are a corporation, it's so many ways where they may say, okay, I'm gonna take an insurance policy out on my CEO. So if he gets ill, the money, the corporation gets the influx of money, so that even though he had it operating at a certain status, we may lose status, but we're not losing money because we have his insurance policy to actually support that. It's like I said, it's just so many ways that this thing can be done that it's mind-boggling. If whatever the usage that you want to have, the whole key, I think Stan said something key earlier, which was, get started. If you have that child, now nobody wants to think of, I need a life insurance on my child because my child's going to pass and I need that money. Nobody want to think about it from that perspective, but we all want to think about it from the perspective that I need to do this because when my daughter actually gets married, that's the money for her wedding. When my son wants to start that business, that's his seed capital. Or when my twins want to do that, that's their college money. It's all different ways that you can do it if you sacrifice now and start that. Because Stan said actually structure. You can structure it so you can pay so that your 1-year-old, you can pay until she's 50. You can pay until she's 25. You know, it just depends on what your vision is, what you want to do, and how you want to actually start things. And then if something changes, you got this policy running, you sell your business, you get in the car accident, whatever, you get a lump sum of actually money. You say, okay, I'm gonna start a policy for my wife, for myself, for my grandson, whatever the case is. And if you want, you can say, I'm gonna start this policy with this lump sum that I got from this settlement and put that in there and be done with it. Now it's just gonna grow. You know, I'm not going to even deal with that no more. Now that is paid for, it's growing, and whoever the insured is, meaning the person who is covered for the death benefit, they are coverage for life, period.
But Brother Keeley, you know, I hear a lot of people say, well, I can't afford it. You know, insurance is for rich people. I don't have all that money, man. I can't afford it. I'm living paycheck to paycheck now. I just can't do it. So, you know, help us to dispel that myth that insurance and actually covering yourself and your family isn't just for people who have money or for the rich.
We have, I guess, one of the first things we want to think about is we need to dispel the myth in our corporate meetings so that we get insured sooner rather than later. Okay. If we are in a situation where we're just graduating college, we're just actually getting a job, and we're just actually getting started, then you can do a term policy to get you some coverage right now for a limited period of time. Since it's a temporary policy, it will not cost you as much as a permanent policy does. Then you also have to look at the coverage amounts, because of course, insurance is going to be based upon age, gender, health. So, of course, female is always going to be cheaper. So if you got that younger, healthier female, then their policy is going to be cheaper. Okay, so that's why you want to start as early as possible, so that you may end up getting cancer, but you didn't have cancer when you got the policy, so you're still able to get the policy. And then your cancer could be covered from the living actually benefits of that policy. You may have money to help you pay for the cancer or supplement whatever expenses you may have. The permanent policies are more expensive, but it's going to be the permanent policy based upon the actually death benefit and the age and health at the time in which you're actually paying. So you could say, I have $300 a month in which I want to pay. And then you can structure a policy actually based upon that. Or you could say, I want $1 million coverage. Then you would structure your policy based upon actually that. So you have the flexibility based upon what your plans are on how you want to actually cover yourself. And once again, the actual term policies are always a lot cheaper, but because that's like it's like a warranty on your car. It's going to expire at some point in time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you don't drive, if it doesn't expire on the 60,000 miles, it'll expire on the 5 years. But one way or another, it's going to expire. You know, so you can do that, and then you can do what they call a 1035 exchange when you roll your term policy over into excuse me, not an exchange, but you can pre-qualify. So in other words, I'm young and healthy. I get this policy actually now. 3-4 years later, I get sick, but since I have this policy, now I can upgrade that policy without a new medical evaluation. You know, so there, once again, that's why what Stan said is so key. Just get started now, so you have something now in the event the worst happens, because we're all going to say we're going to live to 70, 80 years old. But as we hope that's out of our control. You know, based upon what's going on, we may not make it. We may not make it to actually part 3. You know, right? But we have to plan for it accordingly, and we can't get spooked actually by it, because especially as fathers, it is our responsibility to take on that burden and say we need to get coverage just in case. And then
Yes.
if we do it actually properly and get like an IUL policy, the just in case could have actually benefits if we do make it to that 70, 80, 90 years old. So you don't have to wait. My wife don't have to wait until I pass in order to benefit from my IUL policy. We can put money out of that and buy a second house, go on vacation, whatever the case is. And the one caveat that we had not mentioned, when you access that money tax-free, there's no qualifying for it. That's your money. You just got to say, I have X amount of money. I want half of that. Period.
So I wonder how many of us have passed up on opportunities, or opportunities slipped through our fingers because we couldn't liquidate any capital to take advantage of the opportunity. So
there you go.
If we had a vehicle like this, we could have, as they say, liquidate, some of our assets, and we could have taken advantage of that. I mean, who knows where our family would have been if we could have purchased that business or bought that home or whatever the opportunity was. And I know oftentimes I've sat back and especially my younger years and wondered, man, I see my neighbor down there. How are they able to do that? And I think we've all done it at some point in time, and just said, man, they just look rock solid when it comes to their finances. How are they able to do that when, man, I'm working so hard and I'm barely staying above water? I think some of these tools that you're talking about right now, this is how some folks are able to do some of the things that we see them accomplishing.
Absolutely. And Brother Mark, could I give you a quick strategy for younger people?
Absolutely.
Folks who feel skeptical about the insurance. And Brother Keeley covered the whole thing. The connection between term and doing that rollover to a permanent policy. If your budget is tight, you can start with a cheap term policy. Now, here's where the financial professional comes in at, because financial professional will be able to set you up where you get a term where you can have the opportunity or option to roll it over at a certain period within, let's say, within 5 years. So get that term while it's cheap, right? Have that option built in where you can roll it over. So if your budget is tight, you have time to work on increasing your finances. So when you get to that point, you can roll it over. Now you'll be able to afford that permanent policy. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's why I keep saying, get started.
I can start, let's just say if I'm 22, 23 years old, I can start with a cheap term policy. Let's just say, I don't know, I've got about, $100,000 coverage and I'm paying, I don't know, $20, $30 a month.
Right.
That's something. And I'm not quoting insurance out there. I don't know. I'm just throwing a hypothetical number out there. So don't hold me to that. But so $20, $30 a month for $100,000, whatever it is. And now I'm 28 and, I've graduated college and I'm making pretty good money and I can afford maybe a $200 a month policy. And maybe now I've got $500,000 coverage for a permanent policy if I wanted to do that. So that's available. I could do that.
Yes, sir. That's an option for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome. So these are the things that, as I was saying, that we really need to make sure that we educate people on. And I'm looking at the time here, man. We're already we're running out of time here. So I can see that this is going to be a nice little mini series for us. And I honestly think we also need to put together some tools, I think, that people can refer to and help walk them through this process to kind of help guide them, achieve those milestones as far as the proper coverage. When should I get it? How much should I get? Better yet, they could come in and sit down and talk to guys just like you all to help them with that process. So, man, I really hate to end. I hate to end it. I have such a great conversation with you on this, so much information. I didn't even get a chance to ask you the other two things I wanted to ask you about, but we'll save that for the next show. And of course, we'll go back and kind of touch on what we talked about today, because I want to make sure that it's really soaking in, that people really get it. And if you're listening to this podcast, look, don't blow this off. Don't say I'll do it tomorrow, because tomorrow's not promised. Don't say, well, hey, it costs too much money, because it doesn't it does not cost too much money. Go in, sit down, and talk to a financial professional. Give these gentlemen a call. And as a matter of fact, before we go, tell them where they can reach you at. What's your website?
Our website is HTOEW.com. That stands for Hidden Tools of Economic War, .com. Our master class on estate planning would be at estate.htoew.com. And I would say that the master class would be key, because it would give them the ability to read about each step in which we're talking about, and also watch videos to help them understand how things work. And once they're in the master class, at any time, they can click on the link and schedule an appointment or a phone call, and we can clarify. And of course, this isn't at any cost, because the whole key to this is education. We have to be comfortable. And one thing we kind of skipped over, this is the long-term, commitment. Whenever we're dealing with anything for the benefit of our personal life, it's a lifelong, commitment type of thing. And we want to make sure that when you take these steps, that you're understanding. So education is the first leg in the process. And at estate.htoew.com, you have the actually masterclass, which they can sign up for, and that will begin to walk them through the process and help to get the wheels spinning, so that they can see and understand the actual possibilities. And of course, they can always click on a button, schedule a call, or schedule a phone call or a video call.
And I want to challenge everyone out there that's watching this podcast. If you're a father out there and you're the head of household, it's your responsibility to make sure that your family is looked after you're gone. But not only after you're gone, while you're here, it is also your responsibility to make sure that your family has financial stability. If you're a single mother, here's how you can leverage the playing field when it comes to your finances. Here's how you can leverage the playing field, because we know that oftentimes single mothers, I was raised in a single family household, you have to work a lot. You're often not there. You oftentimes don't, you're working so much, and you don't even have the financial means to actually take care of yourself the way you need to. So we know, and this could be a whole different show as far as healthcare is concerned, and the disparities there for African-American households and single family households. What better way to make sure, because we know you worry about your babies, and even your big boys, we know they're still your babies, to make sure that they're taken care of after you're gone. Life insurance, making sure you have a good succession plan in place, just like that business. So even if you are a single mother, this is how you can leverage the playing field. Please, I challenge every single last one of you, whether you're with a husband, wife, whether you're a single father out there raising children by yourself, whether you're a single mother out there raising children by yourself, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. And Brother Stan, you have anything before we leave? Because I know, man, I got the gift of gab, and I know we got a heartbreak here. But your last words.
Well, I just want to thank you again for inviting us to be able to share this information and be able to use your platform to reach out to folks who are actually in need of what we, all three of us, have to offer. So, Brother Morris, I really thank you for that. And I look forward to the next episode, because we can take this in different directions and provide that 360 degree for our family and our community and folks we're trying to reach. So thank you again for the invitation.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. So, folks, that is our time for today. Thank you for joining us for Religion, Economics, and Politics. And we'll be back with part 3. Be blessed.